So what about all those files in your music folder? Maybe you've bought the CD, or paid for the download, or maybe you've ripped a friend's collection. You think, my music folder? My music. Possession is 9/10 of the law, right? The thing is, with music, we've crossed into the magical world of intellectual property, where the issues get a little tricky. Everybody's got an opinion about what's legal, what's not, right and wrong, fact and fiction, fair use and infringement. But wait, instead of talking about the rules, why not talk about why we have intellectual property in the first place? What's the harm in spreading a good tune around? Well, let's meet Jane. She's a student at your school. Jane also writes songs of heartache and longing. They're clever, she's got a great voice. Jane has a demo track. So what's that worth? It's just a CD, right? Just 20 cents of plastic and some ink. But it's a lot more than that. Jane actually saved up money to pay for the studio time. Not to mention all the bad gigs, the 80 hours of rehearsing, the 14 revisions, and the 2 horrible breakups it took to create the song. Now that song has immeasurable value to Jane, and if she's any good, it can have real value to others. So we've decided as a society, and for the most part as a planet, that we should protect Jane's work, that she should be able to get something for it if she wants. We've even given it a name, intellectual property. Because of intellectual property, and you and me agreeing that it's valuable, people can sculpt, write, sing, make movies, create special sauces, rap, for a living. It's because they can own their intellectual property that they have a shot at making money from their creativity. Otherwise, they might just go off and become, well, lawyers. Hi, I'm Jim Gibson, Director of the Intellectual Property Institute at the University of Richmond Law School. You've just seen some of my thinking about these complicated issues. But what do you think? Is it okay to download music without paying for it? How about file sharing? Does that hurt or help the music industry? Is music property? Again, what do you think? To get the conversation started, we've asked students from across the nation what they thought, and then gave 2 experts a turn. Peter Yazzie, Professor of Law at American University's Washington College of Law, and Carrie Sherman, President of the Recording Industry Association of America. Question number 1. Is music property?
It is property. It is property, but, not all property is protected absolutely.
I think anything which is creative cannot be a property.
I think it is property. I look at it as a form of art. It's just like a painting. If someone were to copy a painting or claim rights to a certain phrase that they created or a cartoon they drew, it's definitely property in that kind of sense.
It's something you create, so it is yours. It's an idea.
I don't really know if music is property. I mean, I think music is art, and I don't know how much you can stake a claim to music as property or as art even.
Intellectual property, which is not really in the same sense property at all, is a different thing. It's a creation of the state. It exists because a decision was made back in the 18th century that we'd all be collectively better off if it did exist, that artists and writers and scholars would produce more stuff for other people to enjoy and use and profit from if they had some legal protection for what they produced.
We have venture capital companies called record companies and music publishers and movie studios and those software companies. They are investing in human creators who are creating cultural products that people want. That is what the whole copyright system is about. It's a property right that's intended to encourage investment.
But from the beginning, this new kind of property, intellectual property, including copyright, has been heavily qualified by ideas or concepts of the public interest. So it's a very porous, a very permeable, a very open, a very, if you will, incomplete form of property when compared to the kinds of property that we're more familiar with in our daily lives.
Question number 2. Is it okay to download your favorite music without paying for it in some way?
Personally, I think it's legal. Then again, I'm 19 years old, I don't know that much. Well, essentially it is stealing, and I believe that stealing is wrong because you're taking something that doesn't belong to you, that you have not paid for, like you have not gained rights to it.
I don't think it's right, but I do it.
Yes, it's wrong, but I think people know outright that it is wrong, and they're doing it knowing it's wrong. And you can think of it as civil disobedience.
We've seen this amazing disconnect between the attitudes and behavior of people when it comes to file sharing versus everything else in their lives. None of them would dream of going to a record store and picking up a CD and walking out with it. Yet they seem to think that when you do it online, it really isn't so bad, it isn't the same. Well, it is the same, and it has the same impact, and you're taking away something that belongs to somebody else.
If for convenience you're downloading a copy of something you've already bought, that feels ethically different from avoiding a purchase by downloading and substituting the download for a purchased copy.
I also really like Hindi music, and so when I try and look for that, I can't buy that in the States because they don't have it here. And I can't find it on websites here. I can't buy it from iTunes. I can't buy it on Amazon.com, so I have to go and look for it for free on the internet.
If they haven't bothered to make it available in iTunes or Rhapsody or in any other available source, then it isn't clear to me how their market is being diminished by my download.
Question number 3. Why or why isn't it okay to share your music file?
Most music you experience like through your friends or through people that have opinions similar to yours, so they'll share music with you like that they think you might like or they want you to check out.
The place I come from, the Eastern world, the idea is more to share what you have produced and the whole concept of giving something to the world.
I don't know, I think the right to share is a civil liberty granted to us.
File sharing isn't stealing if it's voluntary, in my opinion. If you have a group of people who are volunteering their files to share with one another, then it's not stealing. It's file sharing.
There is clearly a legal line to be drawn between the circulation of information within a private community, on the one hand, and the circulation of that information to the public.
I think it is okay to share files. I don't think there's a big problem. I don't think it'll stop people from buying music or buying CDs or buying from online. I think it'll help the artists sell more records because they get to listen to it before they buy it.
There are a number of musicians who like file sharing because they think that it gives them some promotional value. And for those people who want to promote their work that way, God bless them. Let them do it. That's a great thing. But the choice ought to be theirs. There are a whole lot more musicians who don't like the idea of losing control over their creative product and how it is distributed to the public.
Question number 4. Does file sharing help or hurt the music world?
I think if anything, it's really hurt certain record executives perhaps, but I'm not sure if it's really hurt the actual musicians.
I think that it hurts the music world in the sense that if you have a young, struggling artist who's trying to, get their first CD out there and they have one popular song, whereas 10, 12 years ago, people would go out and buy the album for that one song. Now they'll just download that one song off the internet and not buy the album. And it makes it harder for young artists and smaller artists to make their big break.
If you can't make money singing songs, then I think a lot of the people that are in it for the sex, drugs, rock and roll and money don't have the money to keep rocking. So a lot of, for some reasons, I think that sort of would die out a little bit.
Well, right now, as you see, we have 2 stores right next to each other down on Telegraph Avenue. Really, I don't see any of my friends going there. I don't see anybody really going and buying that. I am worried for their business. I'm saying, how do you guys stay in business? It's really hard.
Artists could still make money off concerts. After all, that's the way that they used to support themselves before there was such thing as recorded music.
I think the artists work hard to produce that music, and when you're taking it illegally, you're not giving them their fair share that they earned by doing it.
The little guy isn't making money through file sharing, but the little guy is not going to make money otherwise, because the little guy doesn't get money in the scheme of things in the music industry the way it's set up now, with the several major record labels and the way they handle things. The independent recording artist is actually benefiting a lot from getting their music out and reaching more people that way. If money is their only intention, then I think they're like in the wrong business to begin with.
They're really hurting the people who make the music. Sure, they'll think about the rich rock star who has all the money and the swimming pools and everything else, but what they don't understand is behind that rock star are hundreds of people and thousands and tens of thousands when you bring it out to the rest of the industry who brought that person to where he or she is and helped them make the music. There are the people who write the songs, there are the producers, the studio engineers, the backup vocalists and musicians, the people who promote. All of this huge network of people are impacted when a sale isn't made and people take it for free instead.
And the question you could ask yourself is this: is what I'm doing, this download, this upload, a behavior that is simply designed to help me or to help somebody else avoid having to pay for music that they would otherwise purchase? If so, then it seems to me you have to look deep into your soul and ask, is that right? And incidentally, could I get into some trouble by doing it? If, on the other hand, you can say confidently that the activity isn't one that's simply designed to create or to take advantage of a substitute for purchase, if it's music that you couldn't or wouldn't otherwise purchase, if it's music that you don't simply want to share for the sake of sharing, but want to share in order to discuss or examine or comment upon, then I think both ethically and legally you're on firmer ground.
So is illegal downloading a form of civil disobedience, or is it more like shoplifting? Who is or isn't hurt by file sharing? And where do you come out? How would you answer just to yourself Professor Yazzi's question? Do you download music because it's hard to find elsewhere? Or are you just trying to avoid paying for it? And what about Jane? Does she make it as a musician? Or does she become a lawyer? Seriously, what do you think?